This video is sponsored by InVideo AI.
Baggage claim. Talk us through the events that transpired on the afternoon of July 17, 2024.
It was like any other day. I mean, if you had asked me what was the difference between that day and the previous day, I would have said none. I remember I was polishing a piece of wood, like I do every day. And that's when I heard it for the first time. And I don't know, it was like I was in a trance or something, because suddenly I was in front of the TV. And I swear the TV just turned on by itself. It was the Acolyte.
And what did you do?
I don't know, I guess I just sat there watching. But then
We must let them test the girls.
I fell asleep. I slept for hours. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was like time didn't exist.
The power of
So why are you here today?
I'm here to talk about the Acolyte. Or at least what I can remember of it.
I'm sure you don't have intense self-loathing, so you probably haven't subjected yourselves to the wonders of the Acolyte. So let's start with a summary of the show before diving into the problems. The show is based about 100 years before the events of The Phantom Menace. It's supposed to be a time of peace, the Jedi are the keepers of said peace, and
The Sith have been extinct for a millennium.
But the prequels were wrong because meet May, a hooded and masked figure out to kill Jedi, which she does easily. Also meet Osha, who is May's twin if you couldn't tell from the identical haircut and expression, and, well, face. Osha and May are from a planet called Brendok, and during lots of flashback sequences, we learned these two girls were born into a space witch coven. You may ask, well, who is their father?
They have no father.
Yeah, these independent space witches don't need no man, so just back off with that traditional logic or how life is created, okay? So while growing up within this family, the twins learn about the Force, which is a thread. It connects everyone and everything. They also learn about the power of one,
The power of one.
the power of two, and the power of many, which makes no sense since it's one woman versus many. But if we kept pausing every time something doesn't make sense in the show, we'd be here all millennium. Just as the two girls are about to get inducted into this cult, family, the Jedi show up and rudely interrupt. You see, the Jedi have been on this planet for a few weeks, walking around, metal detecting, and examining moss. Yep, that's definitely moss.
We thought this planet was uninhabited.
They weren't sure if there's life on this planet despite the massive stone structure in the mountains, as well as life-detecting tech,
I find that hard to believe.
but they suspect some funny business is going on, like a virgins.
We are looking for a virgins.
What's a virgins, you may ask?
A concentration of force energy centered around a location.
It's the twins' blood test results. Very force sensitive.
Their symbionts are the same.
Even identical twins would have different symbionts. This is impossible without some kind of manipulation.
The twins were artificially created?
Maybe by tapping into a power dense enough to split one consciousness into two bodies?
Sol, one of the Jedi, feels a deep connection with Osha and worries for her safety as part of this cult. Family. The Jedi can sense that the two girls are strong with the Force, so they test them.
Tell us what you see.
May fails, which she does intentionally so she doesn't have to leave. Osha passes the test and wants to leave this cult, family, and join the Jedi, even though she doesn't know anything about them. May does not like this, so naturally she says,
I'll kill you.
She starts a fire which takes hold really fast in a rock fortress. The fire kills the entire cult, family, and Osha thinks May is dead too, but she's not. May thinks Osha's dead, which she's not, but knows the truth that it was the Jedi who killed the entire cult. Family. So she starts hunting them down under the direction of a mysterious sexy Sith with a mysterious helmet. If you didn't think the Sith could be sexy, you need to remember that this isn't really Star Wars. This is fanfiction Star Wars, with a really high budget.
Money. A lot of money.
After the fire, Osha went on to train with the Jedi, but failed, but still inherently thinks the Jedi are good. May tries to set her right, but fails.
Have you forgotten who we are? They've brainwashed you.
It's not until Osha gets kidnapped by the new Sith on the block that she starts to see that maybe the Jedi are the problem. Gives new meaning to being seduced by the dark side, doesn't it? Meanwhile, May, who parent traps her way onto the Jedi ship, finally gets to learn what really happened to her cult. Family. The memory of this incident has been haunting her for years, so you can see she's very keen to finally learn more from Sol. Sol goes on to tell her that the Jedi tried to take Osha away because she wanted to leave and join the Order, something May already knew since it led her to set the fortress on fire. Sol then explains that while talking to their mothers about Osha joining the Jedi Order, one of the mothers started to attack him, and the other turned into a smoke monster and started to disintegrate May as well. So Sol killed the mother only for her dying words to be,
I was going to let Osha go.
All of which May already knew, since she was literally there. The Coven then possessed the Wookiee Jedi to make him fight the rest. In trying to free him from the spell, a Jedi kills the entire Coven. I mean, family. Back at the ship, the Jedi covered up the events and blamed May and her Stonefire for the mass murder. Everything May knew already. I mean, that's exactly why she vowed to kill all the Jedi involved. By the way, so much of the show is rehashing the same information just from different angles. But that's still much better than the Mary Sue-style fanfiction that plays out on this remote island between Osha and the sexy Sith. Oh, look at that. He's dangerous. He's misunderstood. He lifted his shirt accidentally and exposed a large scar on his back. I can tame him. I can fix him. All that really matters from this interaction is that Osha, a wide-eyed Jedi supporter, gets convinced to put on a Sith-like helmet, foreshadowing what's to come. So, at last, we've reached the final episode, where our motley cast of characters have converged upon Brendok, where they chat a little, explore a little, relive memories that the last few episodes have rehashed to death, and finally we get some answers.
You're not twins. You and Osha are the same person.
Okay, we already knew that. Osha didn't know that, and she also didn't know that Sol killed her mother, so she forgives May and force crushes Sol. The sexy Sith is happy about it because he wants Osha as his apprentice, not really sure why. Maybe he's just looking for someone to rub calamine lotion on his scars. The three of them realize that the Jedi are here to capture them, and they will not listen to reason about why both girls, as well as sexy Sith, have gone on a Jedi murdering rampage, since believe all women and men of color is not really a widespread policy in this universe. So Osha asks for her sister to be let go in exchange for her agreeing to become sexy Sith's apprentice.
Let my sister go, and I will train with you.
I mean, he's not holding May hostage or anything, but okay. But May worries she might become an asset to the Jedi, so the sexy Sith erases her memories, just as it looks like the two sisters are about to kiss or something. The show is so weird. So Osha joins sexy Sith, and I guess they're a couple now. Also, why couldn't May just join them and become a Sith too? I mean, she was already working along the path and killed 3 Jedi on sexy Sith's orders. She gets captured by the Jedi without her memories and has no idea what's going on and is now a pawn for them anyway. The head of the Jedi sees what's happened, sees that her friend has died, and goes back to the investigation committee to tell them what happened.
16 years ago, 4 Jedi were stationed on the planet Brendok.
I honestly thought the show was about to rehash the story for a 4th time. But no, it turns out she lied and blamed her friend to save face for the Jedi Order.
Recently, when the truth threatened to come out, a rogue Jedi named Sol killed his accomplices to maintain the cover story.
And then we get a shot of her talking to Yoda, who is unfortunately shoehorned into this mess, as is this guy, which people on Twitter were kind enough to tell me is Darth Plagueis.
Did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
So that's the show. Now, let's talk about the problems with this show. The fundamental issue with Acolyte is the philosophy behind the writing. The show disagrees with the idea of good and evil, and this is made abundantly clear thanks to the cast interviews and the characters themselves.
Darth Vader is such a bad person. It's very clear, and it's very well established from those actions. But if you can't look and see that Anakin blowing up the Death Star possibly killed millions and millions of people, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this.
Okay, first of all, I'm not even a huge Star Wars fan, but I know it was Luke and not Anakin who blew up the Death Star. And apparently this guy did heaps of research and is a huge Star Wars fan. Yeah, sure, buddy.
I mean, the best parts about Star Wars is there is no good or evil. It depends on what side you're standing on, truly. You know what I mean? That you can look at any angle and see yourself relayed through all the characters, Darth to Luke. You know what I'm saying?
So this moral ambiguity means the Sith, rather than being the clear villain, is a misunderstood hunk with scars, dark eyes, and a throbbing saber.
He gently takes hold of her arm, the red blade still throbbing right in front of his throat.
I'm getting flashbacks to my Harry Potter fanfiction days.
The Jedi are bad.
The Jedi are good.
This isn't about good or bad. This is about power and who is allowed to use it.
Okay, I get it now. So this is Star Wars according to postmodernism. There is no good, there is no evil. It's all about oppressors and victims. In The Acolyte, the Jedi are the oppressors, with the show trying to draw parallels with Black Lives Matter movement's issues with the institution of American law enforcement.
You're under arrest for the murder of Master and Dara.
You murdered my friends. I killed Jedi. I killed those who threatened my existence.
The Jedi Order itself is depicted like the CIA, doing its bidding in the shadows, all to preserve its power and influence.
I think the Jedi are a massive system of unchecked power, posing as a religion. A delusional cult that claims to control the uncontrollable.
Okay, it's interesting that he uses the word cult, because I think we need to talk about another cult. I mean, family. That is to say, the Space Witch tribe that Osha and May were born into, but more like created using the virgins.
I carried them. I created them.
The Coven has very cult-like tendencies. They are secretive, reclusive, and insular, and the girls are being trained to become future leaders.
Yes.
The witches perform an ultra-secret ceremony in order to induct their newest recruits. Children. And there's a lot of consternation amongst these space witches when Osha asked to leave and join the Jedi.
To be raised by an institution instead of a family.
Okay, so the postmodernist translation here is that the reason the Jedi are a cult and not the Coven is because the Jedi are in power, and the Coven is just a bunch of indigenous women. Why have they been hunted?
We were hunted, persecuted, forced into hiding, all because some would consider our power dark, unnatural.
So did anyone tell you can't use this power? It's like when people say that women are oppressed, but when you ask them how are women oppressed, they're just like,
I don't know.
They tell you that it's not their job to educate you. Essentially, the Jedi are bad because they're in power and they're telling people how to use the Force. They taught Osha that she needs to train in order to build her abilities and strength in the Force.
What did you mean by strength in the Force?
Exactly that.
If you were a Jedi, you know it's something you must exercise. Without training, it fades.
And that's what they told you.
Of course, this show thinks that it's bad to tell people that they need to work hard, apply themselves, and focus to attain something. It completely makes sense since everyone working on this show got the opportunity because of diversity hiring policies rather than talent. This is what's so strange about people who subscribe to postmodernist thinking. They don't see hard work, dedication, or talent. They only see privilege. So looking at the Star Wars universe, they don't see that it was the result of people who were creative, passionate, and honed their craft and worked hard to create a widely loved body of work. No, they only see that it was created by men and was loved by men because it apparently pandered to men. Since postmodernists can't see beyond power dynamics, they can never see nuance or human nature or even reality. Hence, their assessment of the Jedi as first shown in the original series has simply been reduced down to man with cool sword. And the Jedi in the prequels are men in power with cool swords. When they see these cool swords, they naturally leap to calling it a phallic symbol. And we all know what feminists think of phallic symbols and power dynamics, don't we?
The Jedi teach there's only one way to access the Force. And if you don't do it their way, it fades.
Oh, how dare they try to teach you anything? Haven't they heard that all ability is natural and that no man and no institution should try to teach a strong woman of color? I mean, they're clearly just trying to brainwash and colonize her mind, or at the very least mansplain what the Force is. Okay, ability is not innate, it's earned. But again, what else can we expect from people who were hired simply based on their race, gender, sexual identity, and ability to do whatever the hell this is?
Not the gay of Star Wars. Not the... It's pretty gay, let's be honest.
Are you telling me, with a straight face, that C-3PO is straight?
They're a couple. That's what I think. But This is more outward.
I think it's canon that R2-D2 is a lesbian.
And of course, this means that they don't understand the philosophy of the Jedi. Now, to be honest, I don't think I understand it that well either. I have never been a big Star Wars fan. I like the movies, but they never captured me in the same way that the Lord of the Rings movies and the Harry Potter books did. From my research, however, this is what I've learned about the Jedi. And if I get anything wrong, please correct me. The life of a Jedi starts with a huge sacrifice. If you are a Force-sensitive child, you are taken away from your family and raised as part of this order, similar to monks who turn away from worldly pleasures, bonds, and distractions in order to attain transcendence. So to me, it's that age-old Uncle Ben lesson.
With great power comes great responsibility.
And responsibility means setting aside personal desires in order to fight for the good in this world. The Jedi seek to do this by encouraging disciples to practice non-attachment, as well as meditation to hone their instincts and build a strong connection with the Force. The non-attachment piece seems to be the most important since a desire to own and hold on to things leads to misery. Non-attachment is only possible by recognizing the impermanence of all things, and thus accepting the nature of life. It's Anakin's unwillingness to let go of his mother, his anger, his ego, his ambition, and of course his fear of losing Padme that lead him to the dark side. The dark side says that you can control everything. You can attain unimaginable heights of achievement and power, that limitations are irrelevant, and you can even stop death. It's this philosophy of over-empowerment of the self, that your desires, your emotions, both positive and negative, and your version of reality are the most important. Now, that's not to say that the Jedi don't have their troubles, especially during the times of the prequels. According to an analysis from Dave Filoni, Qui-Gon was unique because he felt that the Jedi were becoming too detached. This over-detachment meant they were unable to see what Anakin was grappling with, and whatever they could see, they refused to address head-on, which ultimately led to their destruction. So a postmodernist writer looked at the Star Wars saga and said, well, this is a story about balance, meaning that the dark side has some great ideas as well, primarily the idea of freedom.
What do you want? Freedom.
This is quite consistent with the postmodernist view that any sort of institution is problematic since it requires the sacrifice of individual desires. They fail to realize, however, that no freedom can exist without some form of structure of governance and rules that people have to abide by. I mean, even this coven of indigenous people has a hierarchy, which is basically a despotism. And when one witch doesn't agree with the boss witch puts her in her place.
I did not bring the girls into this world so we could lose them to a bunch of deranged monks.
It is not your decision. It is mine.
So what about her desires? What about her freedom? Postmodernists think that any form of sacrifice, compromise, or conforming is fundamentally wrong. Unless it's white men, of course. Let's not forget that it's rules for thee, but never for she. I also find the show's perspective on emotion very telling.
We don't control the Force.
Not the Force. Your emotions.
The Jedi, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, are not trying to control their emotions. They're just training to not act on them. It's the age-old value of non-reactivity. The Jedi feel fear, anger, or envy, but with their years of meditation and training, they understand that it's wrong to act on those feelings and instead take measured actions after thoughtful deliberation. This is not something the Acolyte's writers understand, since the Jedi are presented as impetuous, dictatorial, and generally just incompetent. This truly is what's really sad about people who subscribe to postmodernism, since this lens filters out any ability to see the light. It ensures that its disciples only see the darkness and serves as a gateway of sorts. After all, if there's no good in this world, this means the postmodernists have every right to be just as bad as this corrupted assessment. So why shouldn't they feed their jealousy, act on their resentment, and seek to destroy what they don't like or don't agree with? Or better yet, annex a body of work they envy.
So my character, you know, she's a powerful leader. She's a powerful leader. Yes. In a very woman-centered world, which I was very excited to kind of be in that, because I feel like Star Wars is very like patriarchal.
The interpretation of everything, every story, of history, of characters, people, everything is through this lens of power. So they intrinsically cannot understand the philosophy of the Jedi, nor see the pitfalls of the path of the Sith.
you're feeling right now. This anger, this pain, this is who you are. The Jedi saw it, and that's why they threw you away.
They think virtues like sacrifice, humility, and discipline are not just overrated, but tools to keep the individual caged. And villains are not evil, but rather just misunderstood and on the verge of abilities or discoveries that are considered dangerous to those in power.
It's why I've kind of stopped using the word villain, because I feel like people look at a villain as like a surface level, like bad person, whereas if I say antagonist, at least that implies depth and that we'll get some justifications for why they've done what they've done.
They don't believe that hierarchies should exist, especially hierarchies based on achievement. They believe that these are lies told to keep people with ambition or differing ideas muzzled and submissive. If all these thoughts are sounding very Sith-like to you, you wouldn't be wrong.
Leslye, Amandala, if you two had your own lightsabers in real life, I'm starting here, what color would it be?
Red.
Red.
I knew that. I said that about you yesterday.
Really?
I was like, Leslie's is red.
What does it say about you?
Leslye is Sith.
Yeah, I'm dark-sided.
Clearly.
Red.
Why?
Because I'm a Sith.
Oh my God.
I'm evil. I don't know what to tell you.
It's even scarier that you own it that way.
Yeah, red.
I'm so sorry, but the dark side is cooler.
While the postmodern philosophy is craftily hidden behind messaging of love, acceptance, and representation, in truth, it's a philosophy out to control and destroy. It's a philosophy that encourages unbounded ambition, without care for who gets burned in your rise. It's a philosophy that encourages forcefully taking instead of rightfully earning. It's a philosophy that venerates emotion, especially dark emotion like jealousy, greed, anger, and derision. It's a philosophy that elevates desire and short-term pleasure-seeking. It's a philosophy that fosters narcissism, self-promotion, and self-adulation, and encourages swift action against any dissent. This is why any form of criticism of the writers, acting, or the shows is met with accusations of racism, sexism, and oh so many insults. This is why when stepping into the driver's seat of the Star Wars universe, they made no effort to understand and build on its substructure. Instead, they co-opted it, destroyed the original foundations, and clumsily established their new characters as supposedly superior. The Acolyte is not just a mediocre show, mediocre being a generous term. It's a supercilious display of the new guard basking in its takeover of a once much-loved franchise, reveling in the effective destruction of the work of others. It's a victory lap for how evil has successfully overthrown good and snuffed out the last remnants of the rebellion. I'm sure the active destruction of Star Wars and the MCU has been absolutely infuriating, since many of you have been fans of the franchises for years. My best advice is to speak up so Disney and other companies hear from consumers like us instead of the louder, squeakier woke types. If you agree and may be thinking about creating content on this or any other subject yourselves but don't know how to get started, consider checking out InVideo AI. InVideo AI is the world's most used AI video creator with over 10 million users across 150 plus countries. It's the only AI video creator that I have tried that puts you in the driver's seat and works as your personal sidekick to help you with the crucial tasks of scripting, editing, and finding relevant footage so you can bring your ideas to life using text prompts. All you have to do is start with a simple prompt and it creates the first rough draft for you. From there, you can get creative and fine-tune your video, like asking the tool to change the intro. Wanted to find better footage for a scene? Done. You can also clone your voice and make it narrate the video in your voice in any language.
For decades, boys and men looked up to Luke Skywalker as the embodiment of hope and heroism. But in The Last Jedi, he's a pathetic man who's given up on everything.
The best part, it will save you hundreds of dollars every month as it does the job of more than 10 tools packed into one and costs $20 a month to start. I know many people see AI as a threat, feeling that humans are getting replaced, but I see tools like InVideo AI as a way to level up your skills because it allows you to bring to life projects that would seem out of reach before. So try InVideo AI for free, but if you are serious about video creation, you should get a paid plan that starts at $20 a month. This will remove the watermark and give you the ability to clone your voice. A paid account also gives you access to millions of royalty-free stock footage clips, as well as better options for voiceovers, which again typically cost hundreds of dollars. So go to invideo.io/i/thebagageclaim and use my code thebagageclaim50
to get twice the number of video generation credits in your first month, and I'm excited to see what you will all create. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.